What is your fondest memory related to SigEp?
My fondest memory was probably when I first joined NC Beta at NC State. I remember coming down the hill at a very large state institution and accepting my bid, and there were at least 50 men waiting at the bottom of the hill to welcome me with open arms. It was a moment for an 18-year-old young guy from a small town that had come to the big city and the big college to feel very welcome and wanted and part of something a lot bigger than himself. And I remember that day with a lot of fondness.
What does that mean in terms of translating that experience into meaning in your life? I mean, so now you're a part of this thing that's bigger than you. Why does that matter?
Well, like everything in life, I mean, life is not a singular process. It's everyone longs to be part of something that's bigger than they are, that has value and integrity. And as it turns out for me, SigEp was an organization that had value and integrity. I'm not sure I knew that when I was 18 years old and going through recruitment and rush and so forth. What I really connected to were the relationships and the people. Fortunately for me, those people were an outgrowth of the value and the integrity that were present inside the four walls of that house. And so the programming emanated from that. And I had a phenomenal undergraduate experience, which is what brings me back as a volunteer. I mean, you just can't, when I was asked if I would come back and volunteer, the first thing I did is resource my memories as an undergraduate. And had my memories as an undergraduate been not so good, I think my answer might have been a little differently, because clearly, as you get older, your values and your priorities begin to change and evolve. Fortunately for me, as much as my values and my priorities had changed and evolved, they were still very synonymous with and consistent with what SigEp stands for, and the frame of reference I used was my undergraduate experience.
You're an entrepreneur in the hospitality industry. How does SigEp impact what you do to be successful today?
Well, in some ways, each Sigma Phi Epsilon chapter is a small business. I mean, I was an entrepreneur as an undergraduate and didn't know it. We were running our own small operation. We had a CFO, we had a CEO, we had committee chairs, we had worker bees, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that we had in North Carolina Beta was a franchise of a larger organization, and we were charged with operating it. So as it turns out, and we were also charged with hiring and firing. I mean, it had all of the logical components of running a small business. So I think to some extent SigEp can get some credit for that skill set that I now not only have, but that I cherish and that I work every day to improve on.
You've worked with hundreds of undergraduate brothers. I mean, you're on the National Board of Directors, but your hands are still greasy. There's dirt under the fingernails from being in the trenches. What do you tell our young guys in SigEp that they need to learn to be successful in life?
Well, I think that's a long answer. The short answer to that is be honest and be consistent and commit to the things that matter. And I think SigEp is doing that, in our chapters where they're doing that are being successful. The undergraduates are so much better today, so much smarter, and this is a fraternity that I'm proud to say I would have a hard time getting into. And it's the greatest compliment that I can pay Sigma Phi Epsilon is to say, and I mean, it's not like I was a loser when I was in school. I was a good kid, and I had some things that I think made me attractive to a fraternity. But it's clear to me that if I were going back and trying to go through the process again today, and I were no different than I were, say, in 1985 when I joined, this is a pretty stout organization. It's an organization that has pretty high standards. We expect a lot from our members. It's quite a commitment. And it might have scared me away, but it also might have not accepted me either. So I'm glad I got in when I could.
Hey, we needed the dues.
That's right. I paid my dues. That's one thing you can say about me.
What would you tell our alumni and our volunteers out there who are contemplating their futures in life from a SigEp perspective for you, who's somebody who's taken 26 years of SigEp involvement and used that as part of the foundation for your success? What life lessons, just in 30 seconds or a minute, would you give our alumni and volunteers?
Well, everybody wants to buy season tickets to a winner, and SigEp is a winner. And I think when we go out and we not only recruit new volunteers, but I mean, look, people join for one reason and they stay for another. And our alumni volunteers, and whether they're alumni or not, joined for one reason, and they're here at 40, 50, 60, 70 years of age for a different reason. And I think the reason they come back and the reason they stay is all relationship and value driven. And I think that's appropriate. I think it's exactly where the focus ought to be. It certainly is, that's the focus for me. And I'm glad to say that, you know, a lot of these folks that I see at conclaves and CLAs and so forth, that's the only time I have an opportunity to see them. And when we see each other, it's like we haven't seen each other for just a few weeks instead of just a few months or years. And those are relationships that are built on, again, shared values and integrity. And that's, I also think that Sigma Phi Epsilon's volunteers, in a large part, recognize that the fraternity continues to try to talk to major issues of our day. I mean, issues that are relevant and real and present for undergraduates today. They're different than the issues that were present on campus when I was there in the 1980s. So relevance is something that is constantly changing, but is no less important today than it was, say, in 1985 when I joined.